Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to this morning's Railbookers webinar all about Switzerland. First of all, just want to make sure you can all see that screen okay. There is an area on the control bar, I believe from the right-hand side of your screen, there it says questions. But at any point during the whole presentation, please feel free to pop a question in there. I'll do my best to answer them as we go along, but also we'll have a dedicated 5 minutes at the end specifically for questions. But also, if you just want to say hello and good morning, let me know that you can hear me and see the screen okay. Pop a little note in there in the questions box. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I'm in York myself at the moment. It's pretty miserable outside, I'll be honest. Grey, raining, not very nice at all. Anyway, let's begin. There we go, it is working. Sorry, a bit too clicky. Oh, back again. That's me. Sorry, that's me. I'm Gareth Jones. I'm the product manager of Railbookers. I'm absolutely honoured to be presenting a webinar today about Switzerland. Lucky enough, I was in Switzerland last week myself, so fresh memory full of lots of highlights, etc., and some great experiences. That's the Chapel Bridge in Lucerne, possibly one of my favourite cities in Switzerland, but also in Europe. It's a gorgeous city, it really is, right in the heart of the Bernese Oberland. Anyway, let's begin. First and foremost, very important, let's talk about the flash sale we've got up and running at the moment. Ends in 10 days' time, so the end of the month. Save up to £350. So really, really, really big saving. It's certainly worth kind of catching. And Railbookers. So some of you may be familiar with Railbookers, but hopefully some of you aren't. So for those of you who aren't particularly familiar with, who are we and what do we do? Well, as you'd assume by the name, trains. We know about trains, experts, to be honest with you. Holidays, all independent holidays, no groups, so completely independent. You're not led by a tour guide or anything like that. You can book from travel today or tomorrow, for example. Granted, well, it's getting better in terms of where we can travel to now, but you can travel from tomorrow to 2 years in advance. So even booking a large trip, 2023, for example, we guarantee those package prices. A very small deposit guarantees your place. And the remaining balance isn't due until 3 months prior to the trip. Maximum flexibility. So we're going to look at 5 holidays that we've put together today. We've got over 3,000 different itineraries throughout the world. But with these holidays as well, it's really important to kind of note you can chop them and change them as much as kind of possible, really. So you can add nights on, take nights away, add in a new destination. Again, you can travel any day, pretty much, as long as the trains run those days. Obviously, there are a few trains that only run certain days. If the train goes there, so do we. If you come to us and say, these are the places that I want to go to, we can make that work for you. As mentioned, we've got over 3,000 different itineraries. It's the largest rail holiday selection from sort of the luxurious Venice Simplon Express or the Golden Eagle train through Central Europe and across Russia. Multi-country journeys. Switzerland and Italy is a very popular combination, so easily done by train. Also things like Prague, Vienna, Budapest, for example, traveling through Central Europe. Or if you take a river cruise or an ocean cruise, for example, if you need to get there to the nearest airport, if you want to do kind of sightseeing elsewhere by train, we can take care of that. What is confusing for most is simple for us. It really is. We have direct access to all the major booking systems for all major train operators. We make life easy. Brochures. So of course the website is the greatest resource, but on there you can also kind of download some select digital brochures that we've put together, which are more sort of specific in certain areas. So Scotland has of course been very popular over the past 12 months, but we've got some great itineraries taking the Caledonian Sleeper up to Scotland, the Jacobite train even going up to some of the islands as well. Spain, river cruise extensions, but also a luxury brochure as well for those private trains. And what's also great as well is we offer maximum flexibility if you do book a new reservation with us. So if you make a booking, deposit, travel in 2 years' time or travel next year, for example, you can change the dates, duration, or even the destination of your holiday up to 60 days prior to departure without incurring any change or cancellation fees from us. So of course, any medical issues or just change your mind within 60 days, we won't kind of charge you for changing your itinerary. What's good to know is wherever you are in the world on a Railbookers holiday, you're not far from a member of the team, really. We have a 24-hour support from our global offices. So no matter what the time is, say you're traveling across Canada, for example, we have an office in Toronto, with 2 offices in the US on either coast, and an office in Sydney, Australia. No matter what the time, wherever you may be, you can call a number, get through to one of the team, and they could be able to assist. And just to highlight the partnerships we have with the rail operators. So it's all the national rail operators, it's also the luxury rail operators. I mentioned Belmont, who run the Benina Express, Rocky Mountaineer as well in Canada. And what this means is we have direct access to the train seats. We're not using just the same booking system everybody else uses or the public use. We have a direct system with the rail operator. It means we have access to the best fares and the best seats. Traveling by train, what does it look like nowadays? Well, surprising. I've travelled a bit in Europe over the past month, and they're a lot stricter in terms of wearing a mask on board. Facial covering is required in stations and on trains for passengers and staff. It's quite funny going to Italy, going to Switzerland, being accustomed to wearing your mask on the trains. You come back to the UK and you're in the minority wearing the mask. Continued increased cleaning and sanitation on the trains and stations as well. So of course, nice really, hopefully it will last, but it's not just when the train stops and finishes that they're being cleaned, it's throughout the whole journey. And contactless ticket control through email and on apps. Used to having sort of all the tickets barcode on your phone as such to scan. You can of course print these off and have a physical copy. It's always recommended just in case of course we lose a phone, etc. I always do it myself. It's good to have a paper copy, but of course these things can now just kind of accessed via your phone quite easily. Let's have a look at some holidays, shall we? Finally, let's get going to Switzerland. First up, one of our best sellers, classic Glacier and Benina Express, 2 of the most famous trains in the world, 2 of the most scenic journeys as well. So what have we got? We've got train from the UK to Switzerland in one go. So train from London to Paris, Paris to Basel, and then Basel down to Interlaken. 2 nights in Interlaken, a day trip on the Jungfrau Railway. Before we take a quick trip down to Brig and board the Glacier Express from Brig to Chur. This is the majority of the journey. The Glacier Express actually runs from Zermatt all the way through to St Moritz, about 8.5 hours in total. From Brig to Chur is around about 5 hours, so it's the majority of the journey, and it is by far the most scenic part of the journey as well. 2 nights in Chur, we're going to take a day trip on the Benina Express. That actually goes into Italy, a little town called Tirano in northern Italy, and then back up again. My favourite train journey in the world, I admit. And then we're going up to Zurich Airport, a direct train from Chur to Zurich Airport and flying back. If you don't want to fly back, no problem at all. Again, the flexibility of how we operate, we can certainly take out the flight and put in the train for you. If you want to fly there and fly back, we can do that. It's completely sort of flexible that side of things. We can chop and change as much as we like. One thing I would note about flying to Switzerland, the airports, Zurich and Geneva particularly, are so well connected with the Swiss transport network. Very big kind of regular train stations from Zurich Airport. In Zurich Airport, for example, just go downstairs, direct trains to every corner of Switzerland. Very, very easy. As I'm sure you'd imagine, if you've travelled to Switzerland before, you probably know yourselves as well, but it's just such a very, very good transport system. Everything really does work very well, kind of timing-wise, connects with one another. One thing I would always recommend, though, in Switzerland and any other country you go to is your phone is download the rail operator's app. That way you can get up to date details regarding the train journeys, any last minute changes of platforms and things like that. It's all there on your phone. Very, very convenient. So let's start. 2 nights in Interlaken. Interlaken is where I spent a couple of nights last week, actually. This is looking down on Interlaken from a place called Harderkulm, which is actually a kind of mountain peak, one side of the valley of Interlaken. Interlaken in between 2 lakes. It is Lake Brienz on one side and Lake Spitz on the other. Great base for exploring the outdoors. Harderkulm, this sort of vantage point here behind where we're viewing from, there's a lovely restaurant. It's a great restaurant. Some typical kind of fondue, raclette, wonderful, wonderful Swiss food with an amazing view. If you're lucky enough to be up there in the evening, you get an amazing view of a beautiful sunset and a clear sky as well. Fantastic, it really is. Interlaken, as I said, in between two lakes, you've got the chance to go on the cruise on the lakes, paragliding if you're feeling active and things like that. If not, it's a wonderful base for going up the Jungfrau Railway as well, which we'll have a look at shortly. But from here, from Interlaken, we're going to take a quick journey down to Brig. Brig, very much the starting point of the Simplon Pass, the historic Simplon Pass. On Brig, we're boarding the Glacier Express, possibly one of the most famous trains in the world, and the slowest express train in the world. It prides itself, average speed around 30 miles an hour, so it really doesn't speed, but it's going over 200 odd bridges through about 100 tunnels. You don't get a name like the Glacier Express without seeing some amazing scenery, and you really, really do. It is spectacular in parts. As you can see, the carriages, or panoramic carriages, they are panoramic in all the classes as well. In fact, they've got new carriages. The new carriages actually allow some windows to be opened by the doors to get some great photos without the glare. The restaurant car, which currently is closed due to kind of social distancing, but it will be open very, very soon. The buffet car, sorry, you can open some windows there to get some great images. Ian, roaming data is not available in Switzerland. It is at the moment. I certainly used it last week, no problem at all. And I think the roaming changes with most phone operators are coming in next year, which is a bit of a worry. So you could buy a temporary SIM where you're there to get the data from the rail apps. But yes, wait and see if the phone provider kind of what services are provided next year. But also Wi-Fi is pretty prevalent in the trains and the railway stations in Switzerland as well. So that's very, very easy to get online. Glacier Express. So Glacier Express, we've got three classes of travel. We've got standard class. It's like this. Tables for two on one side, two next to the other on another side, some tables for four, two facing two. See, snacks available. You can order lunch on board, and you can order lunch beforehand or on board. It's the same choice. You're better off ordering on board because you get more of a choice. Very comfortable. Again, panoramic windows, so you really get to kind of take advantage of all the scenery. First class. First class. Tables of two next to one another on one side, again tables for four if possible, but then tables two opposite one another on the other side. It's a bit more leg room, and again lunch available serve on board, much more leg room. This is the general layout for first class across Europe, really. Two seats next to one another on one side and one seat opposite another, one seat on the other side. But also on the Glacier Express, we've got excellence class, which looks like this. There we go, so there's a delay on the slide. It looks like this. Possibly the most luxurious daytime train service in the world. There's only around 20 seats in each carriage, and there's only one carriage per train. The 20 seats are all on both sides of the carriage, one seat opposite one another, so it's couples. Its own exclusive bar. I think that looks like Judith Chalmers at the bar. I don't think it is her. What do you get with excellence class? Well, you get amazingly comfy seats, of course you do. You get a 5-course lunch, local cheeses, you get wine, you get a luggage transfer, you get complete red carpet treatment throughout, you get an iPad or tablet which tells you about the whole kind of scenery and the story of where you're going. Not to keep, of course, it's just while you're on board. The excellence class is only bookable the full length of the Glacier Express from Zermatt to St Moritz, or jump off at Kerr if you want. It's only an hour between Kerr and St Moritz, and vice versa. But it's incredibly unique in the world, really. It's very, very special to have that level of service on board a day train, plus the amazing scenery that you get to enjoy as well. Absolutely amazing service. With this holiday, we're staying in Kerr. Kerr is the capital of Graubünden. Graubünden is one of the largest and most historic regions or cantons in Switzerland, one of the most mountainous. And see, they've actually got some wonderful vineyards in Chur, which were kind of date back to the Roman settlements here, one of the oldest passes through the Alps. Beautiful old town, really gorgeous old town, a lot of history there. The following day, we've got a day trip on the Benina Express. A bit of a delay on the slide. Sorry, there we go. The Benina Express. Now, this is my favourite train in the world. I've got to say, I met my wife on this train many years ago now. Fantastic scenery. It's first class and second class. There's no excellence class on the Benina Express, but the scenery is absolutely breathtaking. Okay. You're going over some of the highest alpine peaks. You go over the Brussio Viaduct, which is this viaduct. Spins around 360 degrees. If it went at any speed, it would be more like a roller coaster, but it doesn't. It's nice and gentle. You get some great photos coming down here. Go over the Landwasser Viaduct, the famous kind of huge viaduct. Beautiful scenery. Past some sort of, as I said, alpine peaks, beautiful, pristine alpine lakes as well. But then the train drops down into the Poschiavo Valley, down into northern Italy. Palm trees, essentially, by you get down there. It's an amazing change of scenery. You get to Tirano. There are trains on to Milan, so you can use that as a way of getting into Italy. If not, there's a couple of very good pizzerias there. A glass of wine, pizza, a little wander around Tirano, beautiful little church nearby as well. But then an hour or so later, you take the train back along the same route back to Chur. And a lot of people ask me, sort of, well, you know, you're seeing the same scenery, but it's really interesting because of the change of light from the morning to the afternoon. The scenery really does take on a completely different persona, a different sort of character. It's a wonderful day traveling by train. Lovely, lovely day trip. It really is. So there's first class and second class available. Refreshments on board. There's no actual sort of sit-down meal on board. So there's kind of sparkling wine and things and trolley service. In fact, next year, everybody traveling next year will get, remember this, everybody traveling will get a complimentary iced tea and a little tin of chocolates, Swiss chocolates as well, which is quite a nice addition as well. But there's no sort of excellence class, there's no restaurant on board, so it's quite nice. And there's trolley service, take some snacks with you, but you've got a chance in Tirano to have a really nice pizza as well. A glass of, bowl of pasta. So that's the classic Glacier and Bernina. Now we've got Scenic Switzerland, which is a bit bigger. It's 9 days from the 5 days, and with some different destinations in there. So we're still taking the Benina Express, still taking the Glacier Express, but we're doing the Benina Express from St Moritz, so a little bit shorter. We're doing the full length of the Glacier Express from St Moritz to Zermatt, so the full length was about 8 hours, 8.5 hours. We're doing a day trip on the Gornergrat, which I'll look at in a minute. Amazing views. And we've got a day trip on the Jungfrau again. A day trip to Mount Pilatus from Lucerne. We've also got a night in Montreux, by the way. I'm getting carried away here now. 9 days in total, really is a tour de force of Switzerland. Throughout the whole year, it's possible. There's a short 6 weeks over November, in middle of October till the beginning of December, where the Glacier Express doesn't run, just due to the conditions, to be honest with you. And the Glacier Express is the only direct train that runs that route. You can do it with a few changes of different trains, the route. The Glacier Express doesn't run during November, essentially. The rest of the year, the holiday is possible. Now here we've actually priced it with flights into and out of Zurich, but again, if you want to take the train, no problem at all, we can make that work. So first up, the Gornergrat. The Gornergrat is, let me get this right, it's the highest open cogwheeled train station in Europe. Every one of these mountain railways have their own selling point, have their own sort of, we are the world's or the Europe's or the world. So of the highest open cogwheel rail, what do I mean by open? It doesn't go through any tunnels. It's only about kind of half an hour to the top from Zermatt. You go through really kind of luscious pine forest, all the way to the top. At the top there is a hotel. You can stay at the hotel. There is also a restaurant up there. There's a view of around 29 different peaks, which are over 4,000 meters above sea level. So an amazing panoramic view. Also, the world famous Matterhorn Mountain, the Toblerone Mountain there as well. It's where you get the best views. Up here as well, they've got an amazing new activity, if you want to call it that. It's called the Gornegrat Zoom, and it's sort of a virtual reality experience. Sit there, and it's as if you're flying over the whole area. And the Matterhorn Mountain is completely free. It's quite a fun thing to do, but also there's lots of easy hiking trails up there. I mean, very easy as well. But you've got a good chance of catching sight of some ibex or marmots or wildlife up there as well. Also, so you've got Zermatt at the end of the Glacier Express. You've got a night in Montreux, as mentioned. Beautiful lakeside setting, a real kind of Mediterranean microclimate here. You've got the Vaux vineyards, UNESCO Heritage Status vineyards, really steep climb down to the lake. Vevey is just next door, but obviously Montreux is all the kind of glitz and glamour of the jazz festival. There's an amazing Queen exhibition at the old recording studios there. It's worth, one of my tips personally, I'm a big fan of Montreux, but it's about spend an extra night in Montreux as well, because just along the lake, you've got Shillong Castle, Chateau de Shillong. There it is, beautiful medieval castle. There's Lord Byron, I think, he's got some graffiti down in the dungeons there, strangely enough. But it's an amazing building, it really is, right on the lake. And you can do it quite easily by one of these paddle steamers from Montreux. It's just a 15-minute cruise around the lake, beautiful experience. If you wanted to kind of do a larger cruise on the paddle steamer, you can even cruise from Montreux to Lausanne and enjoy some lunch on board and then take the train back. This is the great thing about traveling in Switzerland, is we generally package a Swiss pass, which means that not just all your travel is covered, but a huge variety of additional experiences, like a cruise on the lake, for example, are included on your Swiss pass. Montreux, or Lausanne, forgive me, to go to Lausanne, which is just 10 minutes from Montreux, there's the Olympic Museum, which is a fantastic museum, it really is, very good. And then from Montreux, in the Scenic Switzerland holiday, we're taking a new train called the GoldenPass. Now, at the moment, the GoldenPass is a train that runs from Montreux up the hill from the lake, so looking down, got some beautiful views of the lake, through some amazing alpine scenery. You've got the huge kind of the Ceres Mountains on the horizon. We're going into the Ceres Mountains, but you're going through these beautiful alpine fields. At the moment, the GoldenPass changes train in a place called Zweitzimmer, because there's a change of gauge and the distance between the tracks, and then it goes from Zweitzimmer to Interlaken. Interlaken, you change trains and take the train from Interlaken to Lucerne. All of it incredibly scenic and changing the scenery as well. So the first bit is going through some beautiful pasture land. This region of Switzerland, in the kind of Vaud coming into the Valais canton, this is where you get the best cheese and the best chocolate. It's, you know, cowbells, you hear them everywhere down here. But it kind of comes into some serious mountains. Interlaken up to Lucerne, one of the most scenic lakes, really is beautiful scenery, beautiful scenery. The GoldenPass. So this is what it's like on board second class. First class is two, one side, one seat, the other, panoramic windows again. Very exciting, but a way off yet. In December 2022, the GoldenPass is going to have prestige carriages, one at either end of the train. Prestige will have about 9 seats in each carriage, and you can swivel the seats round so you can face one another forward facing. And because you're right at the front of the train or the back of the train, you can actually see through the window to the way you're driving as well. They don't black it out or anything like that, so you can actually see the track where you're going. It's going to be a great addition. Plus, these trains are getting super upgrades, so you won't have to change trains and Zweitzimmer. The train will go all the way through from Montreux to Interlaken. So it's a huge kind of technological advance and very exciting. Now, We've got 3 nights in Lucerne. We'll have a look at Lucerne shortly, but one of the key day trips in Lucerne is on Mount Pilatus. Now, this sort of very basic map, and it's quite bright, but I think it's the best way to illustrate what's actually included. So I'm going to get my pen out here. Here it is. This is me. So here we are. We're staying in Lucerne here. During the best part of the year, we have the Golden Round Trip. Now, the Golden Round Trip is you're on a boat on Lake Lucerne, a wonderfully scenic cruise down to Alpnachstad. It's around about kind of just over an hour, just an hour's cruise. Beautiful scenery. Alpnachstad, you're taking the steepest cogwheel train in the world, I believe. Mount Pilatus train, all the way up to the top of Mount Pilatus. 40-minute journey, breathtaking, breathtakingly steep, breathtaking views. Old classic train, so old vintage style, getting upgraded to brand new trains beginning next year and onwards steadily as well. At the top, we'll have a look shortly, but then you can come down the other side of the mountain, just half an hour sort of gondola ride to Fragmenteg, and then a cable car ride through to Kriensreg, and then Kriensreg to Kriens, another cable car. Kriensreg and Fragmenteg, there are sort of nice activities if you're traveling with a family, tree climbing and swings and things like that. And then it's literally, Kriens is just a kind of neighborhood of Lucerne, so it's about a 10-minute, 15-minute bus ride back to Lucerne, all very easy and an amazing day trip. If you don't want to take the boat, you can do what's called the Silver Round Trip, which is you take the train, 20-minute journey, a lot quicker from Lucerne to Alpnachstad rather than the boat. Now, during the winter, because of the historical nature of the train, that doesn't run. It's calm due to the weather. So you can still get to the top, and you get to the top this route up and down. Okay. So the cable car and gondola up, and the cable car and gondola down. See if we can put this pen away now. There we go. Okay, so this is kind of what it looks like looking back down the mountain from the train. So it's incredibly steep, and you come through these forests, which is quite, it's lovely coming through the forest of the first bit, because you get kind of little glimpses of the lake as you're climbing up, seeing how far you get up, and then you come out the forest, and it's this very, very kind of steep mountain to the top. And this is down the other side, as you see, the beautiful scenery looking over Lake Lucerne, all the other lakes in the region. Really, really just comfortable, lovely ride. On the left-hand side here, if you're looking out the window, you can't see it here, but there's this beautiful tiny little chapel that's perched on a kind of rocky outcrop. Gorgeous. And this is what the top of the mountain looks like. So on the, I'll get my handy pen out, here, down here is where the train comes in, and down here is where there's a cable car there, just about to go down. Okay, and in here you've got restaurants, you've got chocolate shop, you've got a watch shop, some nice walking down here. You can see really nice kind of walks up here as well. There's an old legend of a dragon living in Mount Pilatus. There's a lot of that themed around. You can see some steps on the left-hand side here as well, which goes up to another bit. So there's a good few hours of kind of fun to be had up here if you're doing it as a day trip. But if you want something extra special, just as I said, just out of here, oops. So this is where we're looking, but just behind us here is Pilatuskulm, which is a wonderful old hotel. It's only got around 30 rooms, and during the summer, the train and the cable cars, they stop running around about sort of 6 o'clock. So after 6 o'clock, the mountaintop is just people who are staying at the hotel. It's dinner's included as well. It's got a beautiful grand dining room like this. There's an open roaring fire down the other side, that other end as well. It's spectacular. It really is. You get to obviously catch the sun going down, but then at night you feel so close to the stars because you're that high up. It's an amazing experience to spend one night up there. The peace and quiet of being at the top of a mountain late at night or even early in the morning before the tourists come back. It's a wonderful experience and a lovely place to spend a special night. Now, the peaks of Switzerland from Wengen. So we've spent a lot of holidays based in Interlaken, which is in the bottom of the valley in between two lakes, but up the mountain is Wengen. Wengen, very, very popular historically with UK travellers as well. But here, take the journey from London to Basel, overnight in Basel, and then going down to Wengen for 5 nights in the mountain. Those 5 nights are packed really. You get to enjoy Wengen and the whole area, but also you've got a day trip on the Jungfrau, the highest railway station in Europe, and a day trip on the Schilthorn, another great mountain railway experience, before coming back and having a night in Paris on the way back. And the reason I split it up is Wengen, coming down the mountain, you leave Wengen around about 9 o'clock, you'll be in Paris by about sort of 7 o'clock in the evening. So it's a long day's travelling. It's nice to break it up a little bit. And this is what Wengen looks like. Gorgeous. It really is breathtakingly gorgeous. No cars in Wengen. Absolutely spectacular views. It really is kind of breathtaking when you're up there. And so if you're feeling active, it's a great place for sort of hikes, etc. There's also some great cable cars going up to smaller sort of mountains and things like that. But right, here's the very kind of poor map of the Jungfrau. Excuse the map, but I just kind of thought it's a good way of explaining if you're not familiar with what the Jungfrau entails. I'm going to get my laser pen out now as well. So here we are. We're based in Wengen. We were in Interlaken for the previous practice. A lot of our holidays based in Interlaken. We do the Jungfrau from Interlaken. But if you're in Wengen, you can take the train up here to Kleine Scheidegg and then a quick hop to Eiger Gletscher. And Eiger Gletscher, you get the Jungfrau Railway up to the highest railway station in Europe. This bit here, this is the north face of the Eiger. It's the Eiger Mountain, the Monch, and the Jungfrau Mountain. Amazing scenery. You go from those beautiful green sort of valleys of Interlaken up to some of the most impressive and amazing mountain scenery in the whole of the world, I dare say. This journey here, it's ear popping. It really is. You go up to just over 4,000 meters above sea level. There is another route as well, which we'll have a look at shortly. If you're coming up from Interlaken, you come up by Grindelwald and then take this up here. But we're based in Wengen. We're doing this amazing scenery here. Quick up train from Kleine Scheidegg to Eiger Gletscher, and then here the Jungfrau Railway, which is pretty much through the mountains. It does stop at a little vantage point, actually in the mountain, where you come out and there's kind of windows to look down to the top of the Jungfrau. And this is the red train of the Jungfrau just before it goes into the tunnel in the mountains. But this is what the Jungfrau looks like when you're looking at it from outside, really. It's 4,158 meters above sea level. Up here, there's a couple of restaurants. There's a nice ice gallery of ice sculptures and things. You can actually get out and walk on the glacier. This is the Elech Glacier. It's all the way down. It's the largest glacier in Europe. As I said, last week I was here one day, and then the next day I was at the other end of the glacier, the Lucerne, where you're looking back and you can see it's on the corner where the glacier goes round. You can see the Jungfrau on one side, you look down the other end of the valley and you can see the Matterhorn. Amazing. You're guaranteed snow up here. When I was at the top of the mountain last week, it was -11. Down at the bottom of Interlaken, it was about 12 degrees. So it's a huge change in terms of temperature and things like that. But it is an amazing day out. It really is truly spectacular. The views on a clear day, breathtaking. Plenty to keep you occupied up there for an hour, a couple of hours, but a great journey up and a great journey down as well. Excuse me. But also, as I said, from Wengen, as we have in this holiday, we're also doing the Schilthorn as well. For those of you in the know, if you're the first one to type in the James Bond film, questions panel gets a special prize. The Schilthorn, again, a great mountain experience in the region. At the top of the Schilthorn, we'll go there shortly, but here we've got a short ride from Wengen to a place called Murren, and it's actually a combination of 2 different cable cars going to the top. This large cable car here, just under 3,000 meters above sea level, so not as high as the Jungfrau, but one of the great points about the Schilthorn is not just the revolving restaurant, but also the view. And the view is what they call the Swiss skyline. The Swiss skyline is the Eiger, the Monch, and the Jungfrau Mountains, or another. So people say the Jungfrau is spectacular because of the views of the glacier, but the Schilthorn is spectacular because of the views of the mountains. on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Well done. Next up, Gems of Switzerland. So a bit longer here as well. What we've got, Zurich for a night when you come in, has a lot to offer. The Kunsthaus in Zurich, one of the best art galleries I've seen. Also the Old Town area in Zurich's gorgeous. And then we're going to Grindelwald, which we had a look at in the Jungfrau map one moment ago. Down to Montreux for a night again, taking the GoldenPass, but this time taking the GoldenPass westbound, southbound rather than northbound. Zermatt again, it's Montreux through to Zermatt. Zermatt, 2 nights, trip on the Gornergrat again. But then the Glacier Express all the way to Chur. Now here at Chur, what I'm going to do, take the Benina Express down to Tirano, but then for a large part of the year, there's a bus from Tirano that takes you across the mountains to Lugano, beautiful Italian-speaking Lugano in the Ticino region of Switzerland. 2 nights in Lugano, by Lake Lugano. Amazing, amazing scenery. Some great mountain excursions here, Monte Giorno Rosso, for example. 2 nights in Lugano before taking the train north, and this train journey north is on board the Gotthard Express. Gotthard Panorama Express. Beautiful scenery, Gotthard Pass. That takes you up to Lake Lucerne. Stops at Lake Lucerne. We have a couple of options, and the most popular option is to jump off and get on a steamboat from Fluellen to Lucerne. So you should arrive in Lucerne by boat. All of this holiday is in first class as well. What do you get for first class? Well, in first class in Switzerland, we explain the seating, where it's generally kind of 2 seats on one side, 1 seat on another. Much more leg room, more access to luggage space as well on board the train. And then, as I said, everyone on the normal trains as such, on the regular trains, everyone has access to the same sort of buffet cars, the dining cars. And on the Scenic trains, there's no additional meals included, but you still pay on board. Quick mention on Zurich, again, really beautiful city. I think it's often overlooked just obviously through its kind of banking and business history, but the old town is gorgeous, steep going up. Some really beautiful old churches and things, etc. The Kunsthaus, I've got to say, I was only there for an hour or so last week, but an amazing collection if that's your thing. If not, there's the FIFA football museum as well. Now Lindt Chocolate have opened up a new kind of huge, great world of chocolate just around the lake from Zurich. Actually, so you can actually take a boat trip around there. But 20 minutes boat ride, it's quite pretty. You can make your own chocolate, that sort of thing. And then, as I said, so from Zurich, we're going to Interlaken up the mountain to Grindelwald. And remember the map we looked at previously. One quick note about the train from Zurich to Interlaken is it's not currently direct. So what you have to do is go from Zurich to Bern, and Bern change trains to get to Interlaken. What's lovely there is, because you don't have any reservations on those trains, you can decide what time you want to make that journey. Again, the trains are very regular, around about every half an hour departures. You can enjoy a couple of hours in Bern. You can leave your bags at the station. Very easy, pay by card, about €6. Go off and have a wander around Bern, one of the most beautiful capital cities you'll see. It really is gorgeous. Cobbled streets, flags flying, nice parades. I forgot what they're called, but when you've got pillars and you're walking them. Have a wander down to the river. On the other side of the bank of the river, there's a bear park where bears have lived for hundreds of years, and you just go and watch the bears, their natural habitat sort of thing. It's amazing. It really is gorgeous. It's certainly worth kind of spending a couple of hours on when you have the opportunity. Either way, Zurich, Bern, Interlaken to Grindelwald. Grindelwald, absolutely gorgeous. Very similar to Wengen in some regards. Not as small as Wengen, a bit bigger. But again, look at those views from town itself. Now here we can do the Jungfrau Railway, do the Jungfrau excursion, but from Grindelwald up to Glacier, where the Jungfrau train goes through the mountain, they've got a brand new cable car which essentially sped the journey up. This cable car passes the north face of the Eiger, an amazingly huge, daunting kind of mountain, essentially. These, you've got about 20 people in these. They're huge, really comfortable. It's about half an hour journey in the cable car, heated seats, Wi-Fi, amazing views, really an amazing ride. There's one of these every sort of 7 or 8 minutes, so it's nice and easy and convenient getting up to the mountain. That's it. So from there, you're on the Glacier Express, and then you're on the Benina Express on the Bernina bus, which is a wonderfully comfortable bus journey from Tirano to Lugano and Lake Lugano. Some going back a little bit, some beautiful boat trips, some really lovely restaurants tucked away in caves as well. Amazing little corner of the world, Lake Lugano, very pretty indeed. Again, very much a kind of Mediterranean microclimate in some regards. It's gorgeous in terms of the actual town itself. As I said, it's quite steep, as a lot of these sort of lakeside towns are, coming down to the shores of the lake. But nice little old town with old alleys, little alleys and lanes and things, some wonderful restaurants. From Lugano, though, heading north on the Gotthard Panorama Express. It doesn't run throughout the year, April till October. It doesn't run on Mondays, but it's one of the biggest trains I've ever seen, to be honest with you. The actual onboard experience. Have a look at an onboard image in a moment, but this is the actual sort of train itself, and you get an idea of the amazing scenery. 5.5 hours in total, the journey. Snow-capped mountains, palm trees coming out of Lugano. Again, very similar to the Benina Express in that regards, in terms of the difference in scenery that you're passing through. But it's actually the kind of the engineering of many of the spiral loops, the bridges and tunnels to actually go over the historic Gotthard Pass that it takes its name from. You've got amazing views as well, coming past Bellinzona. We've got a famous sort of 3 castles. You see these amazing spires popping up from this beautiful old town. This is what it looks like on board. As you say, it really is very big, the actual carriage. It's first class. Again, you've got 2 seats opposite, next to one another, and 1 seat on the other side. Refreshments available on board, but then when you get to the boat side of things, that's where you can have a full lunch served on boat. So there's about 200 odd seats on board the train, but there's also a photography car where you can open the windows. And it's first class throughout the train as well. That's why you've got a first class Swiss pass for all the journeys on this holiday. And finally, this is Fluellen. So this gives you an idea of where the train arrives, how convenient it is. So the train arrives down here, there's the station, and this is where the boat leaves from, just here. So it's nice and easy just to do that. And enjoy a very nice lunch on board the steamer. It's about an hour's journey on the steamer itself, so you've got plenty of time for lunch before arriving into Lucerne. And finally, 10 days. So it's a bit of a blockbuster. The best of Switzerland. So flying into Zurich, and then from Zurich going down to Lucerne for 2 nights in beautiful Lucerne. On to Interlaken again for 2 nights, and Montreux again. The GoldenPass, taking it this route from Interlaken to Montreux, not from Lucerne as it says there, from Interlaken to Montreux. A lot of people say this is the preferred direction to take the GoldenPass, because you're coming into Montreux, the train coming down towards the lake, so you get some beautiful views looking down towards the lake. Again, Zermatt 2 nights, day trip on the Gornergrat. Before going over to St Moritz, and a day trip on the Benina Express before flying back from Zurich. Lucerne, as I said, one of my personal favourites. It is absolutely gorgeous, very historic city, right in the heart of the Bernese Overland. Just an hour's journey from Zurich, so nice and easy. That's the Chapel Bridge there, literally has just come out of the station and it's there. The setting itself is fantastic, right on Lake Lucerne. Some wonderful hotels in Lucerne as well. We've got a great sort of 4-star called the Wilden Mann, which is one of the most historic inns or taverns in old Lucerne. I've also got a wonderful hotel, the Schweizerhof. There's a Schweizerhof in pretty much every Swiss town and city, but the 5-star Schweizerhof in Lucerne, a lot of history. Queen Victoria, many kind of heads of state have stayed here before. It's beautifully lit up like this at night. It's interesting how they do it, because obviously it's not the rooms aren't when you're in the room with a red room or a pink room. No, it's just the lighting outside, but it's gorgeous. It's a great setting right on the lake as well. We've looked at the Mount Pilatus. There's another great mountain excursion, just a short journey from Lucerne. It's Mount Titlis. Now, Mount Titlis, what does that involve? That involves 45-minute train journey from Lucerne to a place called Engelberg. Engelberg, very kind of ski-centric sort of village. And then from here, it's a gondola up to the top to a secondary station, but then from the secondary station, it's this here, it's the Titlis Rotair, which is the world's first rotating cable car. So no matter where you stood inside the cable car, you're going to get an amazing view, because it takes 5-minute journey to get to the top, and that 5 minutes it rotates 360 degrees round. Not too quickly, it sounds very quickly, but honestly it's not too quick. Breathtaking views, just over 3,000 meters above sea level again. At the summit, you've got the amazing view of Sed. You've also got a couple of restaurants, a sun terrace, a glacier cave, a cliff walk, Europe's highest suspension bridge as well. But again, it's one of the 3 mountain excursions. This, the Jungfrau and Glacier 3000, which is another story, where you're guaranteed snow at the top all through the year. So if you're looking to enjoy a bit of snow, Titlis Jungfrau or the Glacier 3000 is what you'd need to be. And we'll mention that, so Zermatt, we haven't looked at Zermatt particularly, we've looked at the Matterhorn and the Gornergrat. Zermatt, very kind of famous Swiss village, big kind of ski place during the winter, of course, but car-free, gorgeous setting under the shadows of the Matterhorn. Halfway up the Gornergrat, you can get off the Gornergrat train at a place called Riffelalp. And here there are a couple of hotels. One is called the Riffelalp Resort, who we work with, 5-star. And it's beautiful. It's kind of tucked away a little bit to go through this sort of short pine forest to get to it. Beautiful setting just to get away from it all for a couple of nights. Amazing views of the Matterhorn, but the areas around, really, really special. The Jean Le Carré, who wrote it, I think it was Jean Le Carré who wrote The Night Manager, famous BBC sort of show about it as well a couple of years ago, but this is where it was set. And of course, the joys of St Moritz. Zermatt, St Moritz, St Moritz, Zermatt. Very popular combination due to thanks to the Glacier Express, but also the destinations themselves. So, Zermatt in the heart of some big, amazing mountains. St Moritz in the heart of the Engadin Valley. So again, surrounded by some amazing mountains, but also you've got the lake right in the heart of the city as well. A lot of people ask what's the best time to travel. There is no best time really. It's throughout the year. All of Switzerland takes on very different personalities. You know, during the winter, of course, everything's going to be covered in snow, great skiing, but also you get that beautiful kind of views of mountains in the winter. Spring and summer, particularly places like St Moritz, for example, those cable cars going up to the top of the mountains people ski down are still open, and they're great at the top because you get beautiful views across the whole valley. You get beautiful wildflowers, etc. up there, and some amazing wildlife. Personally, I mean, I was very lucky last week. The weather was amazing. It really was. But end of September, beginning of October, you kind of come to the end, you know, not the most popular time of traveling, but the weather's still got a good chance of being clear. You get possibly the first chance to snow in some places. That's when I'd go if I was planning to go. Well, I hope that's whetted the appetite a little bit. If you want to find out more about anything we do, please, the website is by far the best place, www.railbookers.co.uk. You can kind of